Hey Raider Nation, it's your boy Raider Alex back with another video. If you're new here and love Raiders related content, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Now let's dive right into today's topic. The 2-2 Las Vegas Raiders are set to face off against the 3-11 Jacksonville Jaguars in what people are calling the 2024 NFL Tank Bowl. The Raiders have lost 10 games in a row, and honestly, winning this one might not even matter at this point. Our season is pretty much over. The tricky part about this matchup is that the Jaguars are also struggling this year. They don't have much to play for either. If the Raiders win, it could actually hurt our position in the NFL draft. Right now, we hold the number 1 overall pick, but the draft race is so tight that a win could drop us to the 7th spot because of how the standings work. The Raiders' defense has been doing a solid job keeping us in games and forcing turnovers. But our offense has been the weak link all season, and it showed again last week against the Falcons. The defense gave us a chance to win, but the offense couldn't seal the deal. The Raiders' offense, led by quarterback Desmond Ridder, has been a disaster lately. Honestly, for the sake of tanking, it might make sense to keep Ridder as the starter, but it looks like Aiden O'Connell will be starting this Sunday. He's been fully participating in practice, and while he's not a game changer, he's definitely better than Ridder. That's where things could get interesting. Our offense hasn't scored more than 20 points in 5 straight games. However, we're going up against one of the worst defenses in the league, a defense that recently gave up over 30 points to the struggling New York Jets. Even Aaron Rodgers, who's been having a rough season, threw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns against them. If O'Connell starts, this could be a big chance for him to have a breakout game. But here's the problem. Our offensive line has been terrible all season. They've struggled to protect the quarterback and establish a solid running game. To make matters worse, our best running back, McCormick, is out for the season. Without him, it's going to be even harder to get the run game going. Last week, our offensive line allowed 4 sacks, even though we were mostly throwing short passes instead of deep ones. Plus, they've been making silly pre-snap penalties all season, pushing us back and making things harder for the offense. If those mistakes continue, there's a good chance the Raiders could lose this game. This game could really go either way. Jaguars quarterback M. Jones is 0-2 against the Raiders, so this is definitely a winnable matchup for us, and that's exactly what makes it so nerve-wracking. If the Raiders manage to lose this week, it's likely we'll keep losing to the Saints on the road, and then to the Chargers, who are probably fighting for a playoff spot. But this week's game feels like the most unpredictable one. Our defense played great last game, and if they can keep up that momentum while the offense shows even a little improvement, we could win this one. But here's the problem. Winning could knock us out of the top 5 in the NFL draft. That would make it harder to get a top quarterback like Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. This season has been wild, with so many bad teams competing for those top draft picks. There are several 3-11 teams right now, and the race for the bottom has been intense. Plus, there are a lot of teams that desperately need quarterbacks, and this year's draft class is top-heavy when it comes to QB talent. If we win a couple of games, it might mess up our chance to draft one of the best quarterbacks. Our general manager, Tom Tesco, doesn't have a history of trading up in the draft either. He's pretty cautious about moves like that. So, if we don't secure the number 1 pick, it could get really tricky for us. At this point, I honestly don't see the point of winning another game. Whether we go 2-12 and get the number 1 overall pick or end up 4-13 with no real improvement, it's all the same. Let's just lose the rest of these games and lock in that top draft spot. It's time to think about the future. When you're a franchise with the number 1 overall pick, the possibilities are endless. You have so many options for what to do in this year's draft. If you're not sold on top quarterbacks like Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward, that's fine too. Holding the top pick means other teams will be calling, offering huge trade deals. You could trade back and stock up on valuable draft picks. On the other hand, if you're like me and think the Raiders desperately need a quarterback, you can simply take your pick without worrying about trading up or giving up draft capital. That's the beauty of being in this position. This matchup will play a big role in determining our draft position, and I just hope the Raiders don't make the mistake of winning meaningless games in these last 3 weeks. Now it's your turn. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you nervous about this game? What do you think the Raiders should do in the draft? I'd love to hear your thoughts. That's all for today's video, Raider Nation. If you're new to the channel and enjoy Raiders-related content like this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you all in the next one. The NFL draft standings are so tight this year that if the Raiders win this game, we could drop all the way to the 7th overall pick. That's because of the strength of schedule and our head-to-head tiebreaker over the Cleveland Browns. This is why a win could be risky for us. It might push us out of the top 5 picks, which would be a big setback. On the bright side, the Raiders' defense has been doing a solid job, keeping us in games and creating turnovers. But the offense has been our biggest problem all season. This was painfully clear last week against the Falcons. The defense gave us a chance to win, but the offense, led by Desmond Ridder, just couldn't get it done. For tanking purposes, it might make sense to keep Ridder as the starter. However, all signs point to Aidan O'Connell starting on Sunday. He's been practicing fully, and while he's not a game changer, he's definitely an upgrade over Ridder. That's where things could get tricky. The Raiders' offense hasn't scored more than 20 points in 5 straight games, but they're facing one of the worst defenses in the league this week. This defense recently gave up over 30 points to the struggling Jets, with Aaron Rodgers throwing for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. If O'Connell starts, it could be a huge chance for him to have a breakout game. But our offensive line remains a huge issue. They've struggled all season, and our best running back, McCormick, is now out for the season. Without him, establishing a strong running game will be even harder. Last week, the offensive line gave up 4 sacks, even though we were mostly throwing short passes. Plus, they've been committing silly pre-snap penalties all season, which constantly sets us back. If these mistakes continue, there's definitely a chance the Raiders could lose this game. And honestly, that might be for the best. This game could really go either way. Jaguars quarterback M. Jones has a record of 0-2 against the Raiders, which makes this matchup very winnable for us. And that's exactly why it's so nerve-wracking. If the Raiders lose this week, I see us continuing the trend with losses to the Saints on the road and the Chargers, who will likely be fighting for a playoff spot. But this week feels like the most dangerous one. The Raiders' defense looked solid last game, and if they can keep that momentum going while the offense stays somewhat steady, we could absolutely win this matchup. However, winning now could drop us out of the top 5 picks in the NFL draft, making it hard to secure a top quarterback like Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. This season has been wild. So many teams are sitting at 3-11, and the race for the bottom is tighter than ever. On top of that, several teams need quarterbacks, and the draft is top-heavy at that position. Winning these next few games could really complicate things for us. Another challenge is that our general manager, Tom Tesco, isn't known for trading up in the draft. He's more conservative, which makes losing these games even more critical. At this point, I think it's best for the Raiders to focus on securing that number 1 overall pick. There's a big difference between finishing 2-12 with the top pick or ending up 4-13 and missing out. With the number 1 pick, the possibilities are endless. If you're not sold on quarterbacks like Sanders or Ward, you could trade back for a huge draft haul. But if you believe, like I do, that we desperately need a quarterback, you can take your pick without trading up or giving away draft capital. It's all about keeping our options open for the future. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Are you nervous about this matchup? What do you think the Raiders should do? Share your opinions below. That's all for today, Raider Nation. If you're new here and enjoy Raiders-related content, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you all in the next video.